Today is my distinct pleasure to introduce an honored member of our university family. In 1992, Dr. Wilson Fallin began teaching world civilizations, African American history, the history of Africa, civil rights, and American history. For the next 28 years, Dr. Fallin impacted countless students by deepening their knowledge and understanding of how and why history actively shapes and connects our world. Many students refer to Dr. Fallin as an experience. And if he says something 3 times in a lecture, you better write it down because you will definitely see it again on an exam. Most individuals would be satisfied by one life's calling, but not Dr. Fallin. In addition to his service as a faculty member, he served as Director of Minority Affairs, authored 2 books, and was pastor for Oak Grove Baptist Church for 30 years. In May 2021, the UM Board of Trustees established the Dr. Wilson Fallin Jr. Lecture Series to honor the History Professor Emeritus dedication to civil rights. Additionally, the building that houses behavioral and social sciences was renamed Wilson Fallin Jr. Hall at a ceremony just last Wednesday. That has a pretty good ring to it, doesn't it, Dr. Fallin? Dr. Fallin is a native of Bessemer, Alabama, and currently lives in Birmingham with his wife of 52 years, Barbara Dixon Fallin. Since his retirement from UM in 2020, Dr. Fallin has served as president of Birmingham-Masonian Baptist Bible College, a role he served in previously during the 70s and 80s when it was named Birmingham Baptist Bible College. It's apparent that Dr. Fallin does not know the meaning of retirement. I'm very proud to introduce, as your commencement speaker this year, our colleague and friend, Dr. Wilson Fallin Jr.
Thank you, Dr. Stewart, for those very charitable words of introduction. And I'm so happy that I brought my wife with me to this occasion. I've been trying to tell her now for 52 years that I was really somebody. And she will believe it behind your introduction. But let me express my deep appreciation for this opportunity to address you today. I want to thank Dr. Stewart especially for giving me this opportunity. I served at UM under 3 presidents, served as professor of history and as chief diversity officer. And all 3 of these presidents were men of high caliber, high learning, and of great efficiency. Dr. Stewart is in that group, and he has done a magnificent job these 12 or 13 years at this university. So I thank him again for this opportunity. Let's give him a hand. Let's give him a hand. Not only were we colleagues, but we became friends. But that's not the reason I'm here, but for whatever reason, it's good to be up here today. We are here, of course, to recognize those of you who are graduating. You have done well. But let me begin my very brief remarks by raising a question. What should people get from an education? What's the purpose of education? What is important about getting an education, finishing a college as you are today, many of you will quickly answer, what's important about it is to get a job. I think most of you came here seeking to get a job, seeking to get a job that would pay you handsomely so you would live elegantly. That's the answer that many of you would give. That's not a bad answer, because the material is very important and has a huge place in life. A person who has a job and who has an education is not a pest on the society, but a positive force in the society. And it is duly noted that in many cases, a person with a college education makes at least $1 million, if not more, over a lifetime than a person without it. Let me, however, quickly add that an education should be more than that, especially in a liberal arts college. You may have money and yet not really be anybody. Let me remind you that the embezzler has money. The thief has money. The counterfeiter has money. So let me remind you that there are other aims and objectives that an education ought to provide. And let me just mention 3 things. I'll not have a chance to develop this. Maybe 5 years when I come back, I'll review these 3 points that I'll just point out to you. Number 1, an education, especially at a liberal arts college, ought to cause one to train his mind in such a way that he thinks clearly and constructively. He or she knows how to distinguish truth from error, good from evil, average from excellent. A soft-minded individual is an easy prey to ignorance and prejudice and demagoguery, bombastic displays. And even though I must say this, I regret to say it, how often have we in the South been victimized by people who were demagogues and made arguments that were not constructive. History has taught us to admire those who've given us better ways of thinking. We are grateful to Socrates, who said that an unexamined life is not worth living. We are grateful to Plato, who showed us in his great book how a good government ought to function. We are grateful to Frederick Douglass, who taught us that a society based on inequality and racism is a negative society. So number one, your education ought to have trained you to think critically about the great issues of life. Secondly, an education, the purpose of an education is to broaden one's horizon. teaching here at Montevallo 28 years and a great time here at Montevallo. I came to stay 1 year and ended up staying 28 years. And that says something about my enjoyment and challenge here at Montevallo. But I would say to my students, and I've seen a few of them in the audience here, I would say to my students, freshman students when they came in my class, I would say to them, if you think the way you think now, after 4 years of liberal arts training, your training here has been in vain. Education helps one broaden his ideas, not just the ideas he gets from his local community from which he came, but ideas that are universal and are beneficial. One history period that I really appreciated was a period known as the Enlightenment. And these Enlightenment scholars had some negative things about them, but they said one thing that has struck with me. They said, come, let's make a better world. Voltaire and the others. And when you broaden your mind, you think in a worldview, and you think about what you can contribute to the world and the like. Well, like most clergy, I have a third and final point. A third end of education is to create a wholesome state of dissatisfaction, to make one dissatisfied with the better if the best can be achieved. The man satisfied with poverty will never have enough food to eat. The man satisfied with ignorance never will be intelligent. Education, college training, university training should be so designed to make one restless and dissatisfied with things as they are. Dissatisfied with war, poverty, disease, illiteracy, injustice, and to give them a spirit of being a part of those who are seeking to remedy these negative factors. Thorne's Walden, the great Danish sculptor, dramatized the sad plight of a satisfied man. He had made a great statue of Jesus Christ. People came from everywhere to admire it. The more they congratulated him, the more he cried. Someone asked him, why was he crying? He said, this is a piece of art I have been completely satisfied with. I shall never produce another great work of art in this vein. He was prophetic, and he never did. Don't become satisfied in your life, but continue to strive for the best. And as you leave this place today, I hope you will make a lot of money. And I see many of you are already saying amen. I got it on my agenda. But don't forget to think critically about the great issues of life. Don't forget to continue to broaden yourself into a worldwide perspective and never be satisfied with your best until the better can be obtained. May God bless you. May all of you achieve success. And when I return to this campus to celebrate your 25th anniversary of graduation, don't laugh about that, because Wilson Fallin has beaten the odds many times. I want to hear you talk about how you have made not only money, brag not only about your yacht, and I hope you get a yacht. I want you to talk about how you have made this world a better place in which to live. God bless you.
Dr. Fallin, you have to wait 5 years. We want you back up at the podium right now. Come on. And by the way, if any of y'all do get a yacht, the president's office is in Calkins Hall. The number 665-6001. Thank you. Dr. Fallin, we're so proud to present you today with the President's Award as Distinguished Professor Emeritus, Author, and Spiritual Leader for your commitment to students and your unwavering devotion in the fight for social justice, presented May 7th, 2022. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Fallin, for your words of inspiration to our graduates.